Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the University of Southern Mississippi, to the Duff Athletic Center, where we're going to spend another few minutes with our athletic director, our director of athletics, Bill McGillis, and talk about all the exciting things that are going on here around Southern Miss. And Bill, it always seems like when we do these, there's just more and more things, great things that are happening at Southern Miss. Before we get into some specific things, so just the general vibe is excitement around Southern Miss. All the things that are going on, the fan support has been tremendous here during the fall. It's really just a great time to be around Southern Miss and Southern Miss athletics.
You know what, it is, John, and we've got momentum. We've got momentum. That's kind of the word I've used in the last week or two, and we've got to take advantage of it. We've got to seize on the momentum and keep building one day at a time, making the right decisions, investing in the right places, and doing the right things. And it's been a good fall. A lot of good things off the field. Student athletes doing great things in the classroom. I think you're right. I think the fans are excited. I think there's a palpable buzz, and I think the last time we got together we talked about Rocktober, and trying to have a great month of October. We were fortunate to have 4 home games that month, and a lot of opportunities, and we took advantage of them. So there is, and as we get closer to the holiday season now, I think we can carry this thing forward and continue to build it, do it together, as we've talked about, and I think great things will continue to happen.
I want to ask you a question. I ask coaches and players this all the time. I don't know if I've ever asked the athletic director, but just in the last 6 months, how have you seen things sort of change in regards to Southern Miss, whether it be through our fans or our competitiveness on the athletic venues? How have you seen things continue to get better at Southern Miss? What stands out?
I think we've kind of steadied the ship. And you go back 3-4 years, and we had so much change here at the university, and some highs that got overlooked by some of the lows. But I think we've just kind of steadied this thing, and through the hard work of a lot of people, a lot of great people that care about the program and that have provided good leadership. And I think with the on-field success that we'll talk about in some of our sports, I think that breeds confidence. That might be the single biggest thing I've seen is just the confidence level that people have now in the direction of the program, the reality that we're moving forward in a positive way, and now kind of enjoying some of the fruits of our labor, if you will. And it's not just the coaching staff, not just the student athletes or the administration. I think our fans feel that way. I made a comment to someone within the last couple days that I think if we can continue this momentum, continue to win on the football field down the stretch here, and as we approach the bowl season, I think the high that we're about to experience will be higher than anything we've experienced in the last decade or more. I mean, I'd have to ask you if you looked ahead a little bit to maybe where we'll be in December, assuming good things happen. When the last time people would have felt this good, and I say that in part because, and I know in the 2011 football season, we had great success. People were enthusiastic and excited. But I think because of the despair of a couple of football seasons, I think this high that we can get to is going to be higher than what's been experienced here in quite a while. So I'm looking forward to that for our fans, and again, good success in a lot of other programs, and so a lot to talk about today.
I was going to say, right now the attention, and rightfully so, on the job that Coach Monken and his staff have done. We'll talk about that later, but our fall sports have really been competitive. Volleyball is having a sensational year. Cross country just had a great finish at the Conference USA Championship. Soccer, women's golf. I mean, it goes on and on. It's been a lot of success besides what football's doing.
It has, and I think really probably the most success that there's been in several years. You might have to go back, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You mentioned volleyball. Very well positioned for the stretch drive in Conference USA. 21 wins already, which is remarkable. and probably that team has a chance to win the second or third most games in school history, this year. And Amanda Berkeley's done a super job in her second full year as our head coach. So that's been exciting. They're fun to watch too, and it's a young team, a little bit like football. Good team, good season, but probably better next year. And really pleased with our women's soccer program and the young ladies hanging in there through a lot of adversity the last few years, and kind of 2 steps forward at times and then a step back. And again, a super young team, tons of freshmen, tons of sophomores playing, but good senior leadership there too, for sure, with KK, who did a great job as our captain this year in that program. And women's soccer won more conference games this year than they had won since 2007. And Coach Mo's done a good job of just quietly building, being patient, adding pieces to the puzzle. And we're not where we want to be at all from a one-loss perspective. But you look at the steps that are happening, and I'm really pleased there. Women's golf, huge win. Erica Brendan's first win as the head coach at Southern Miss, and that team has played well all fall, with the exception of maybe one outing. But a great win at the UAB Fall Beach Bash over some good teams. And I always like it when the coaches bring some hardware back to the office and set it on my desk. I guarantee you, I will find a place for the bling that our coaches bring to me. And but we need to celebrate those sports, and women's cross country, and kind of the bigger picture of track and field under John Stewart's leadership. John came in last year, brought in an excellent staff. Aaron Kent, our assistant coach and head cross country coach, competed at the University of Florida himself at a very high level, coached there before coming here, and he has just done a terrific job with our women's cross country program. It's a program who had great success in the classroom, which we've really tried to celebrate. 2 of the last 3 years with the highest grade point average in America of any university in the country, Ivy League, Pac-12, Stanford, you name it. It was Southern Miss, #1. And now having good success running and racing. Highest finish ever at the Conference USA cross country meet last week, and they'll go into the NCAA regionals in the next couple of weeks with a chance to do even better. But we have great leadership being provided by John Stewart in that program, and I can really see our track program making huge strides. I think it's a program that can be a championship program under John's leadership. But across the board, I'm really pleased with the leadership of our head coaches. And the 2 things that are really fundamental to building championship programs are great leadership of your head coaches, and then having a sufficient level of resources, to go with that. And the great leadership, great coaching is going to attract great athletes. And across the board, we've got really fine coaches. I don't want to name every single one because I might forget 1 or 2, but doing a great job. And the softball and baseball teams, their traditional seasons in the spring, but they both had nice falls getting ready for next spring. Of course, the World Series, which benefits breast cancer awareness and research on the baseball side, and then Wendy Hogan, the softball program, I think went undefeated this fall against outside competition, and I think both those programs are going to do a really great job in the spring.
Well, now we're starting, even though there's a lot of season to go for some of these fall teams, including football, we're getting ready to transition in to the 2 premier winter sports, men's and women's basketball. As we talk now, it's just a few days before they'll play exhibition games, and just a little over a week before they open the season, and a lot of excitement about on the women's side, coming off that quarterfinal finish, that great run in the women's NIT, and Doc Sadler with a bunch of new guys coming into the program. A lot of excitement about both of those programs.
I'm really optimistic about both programs. Very excited again about the leadership of Joy and of Doc Sadler. A lot of change in both programs. You'll need a game program for these 2 teams this year. Lost a strong senior class in women's basketball, but brought in some outstanding young players, very good players. that I think will enable that program to stay at a highly competitive level within Conference USA and beyond. Again, I think Joy and her staff did a nice job of capturing the momentum of the WNIT postseason run last year, the frenzy that was created in town with 5,480 people at the final game against Michigan. They took that into the off season and the summer and really prepared the women in that program for success. Still a lot of talent, although a lot of it's new. I think there's some players that people are really going to be excited about seeing for the first time. And then, they were rewarded by being selected for the preseason NIT, WNIT, and they'll open there the weekend of the 13th, 14th, 15th in there, and then Doc has virtually a new team, and he's got the 3 freshmen back from last year that are sophomores now, and Kari Price, who sat out last year, is going to be a very exciting player if he stays healthy. Our fans will be really excited about Kari Price. He started. People have forgotten Kari Price, who our folks really don't know a lot about. Was a starting point guard at Dayton when they went to the Final 8 2 years ago. A team that went to the Final 8. This guy started 34 games. He's now going to be our starting point guard. Been a little bit banged up, but if he can stay healthy, we're going to have good leadership at that position, good maturity there, and a really talented player there. Doc's got a lot of good young transfers and freshmen that I think will do great things. And that staff has just stayed the course. And again, without belaboring the point, but keeping our folks informed, there's more adversity to come until we get to the finish line in our NCAA case. It'll be mid-spring before it's done, over and behind us, John. If there's information to share along the way between now and then, we will as we get to it. But really, we won't get to the end until then. But our staff is seasoned. Our staff is mature. Doc Sadler has been through a lot in his career. He's won a ton of games as the head coach at UTEP, taking them to the NCAA tournament, as the head coach at Nebraska, doing good things, and throughout his career. And he's got a staff of really good coaches that have, again, you go back to sort of steadying the ship. I think they've done a great job of that, and I think they'll have a competitive team, a fun team to watch, and we'll emerge from whatever comes our way on the men's basketball side. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I want people to think about the emergence of football and from where we were as we go through the challenges in basketball. And I'd also, John, really like to ask our fans to support this program and support the young men in our men's basketball program. As this new group puts a new product and a new team and a new season together, despite the obstacles, despite the challenges, we need our folks on board there to support that team and to continue the great support of women's basketball. Creating a home court advantage at Reed Green Coliseum, as we've had for so many years, is really, really important, and our fans can really contribute to that.
I think the last time we visited, Britton Banowski had announced that he was going to step down as commissioner of Conference USA, and so the search was ongoing and the process of finding a new commissioner. We found that new commissioner, and that was announced just a short time ago.
We have, and Judy McLeod, the former deputy commissioner of Conference USA, has been hired as the new commissioner, and today is actually an important day, or this week is an important week in terms of transition, and Judy's first meeting as the commissioner of the conference with the commissioners of the other 9 FBS conferences. So she'll now be at the table with the heavyweights, or at least those that refer to themselves as the heavyweights, and with all the commissioners. And in the last couple of weeks, people have asked me about the process, how Judy was selected, why she was selected, and I think our conference leadership did a nice job. The presidents led that search. All of the presidents, including Dr. Bennett, were at the table and involved with that search, along with 3 or 4 athletic directors, 3 or 4 faculty representatives from a variety of institutions, and 3 or 4 senior women administrators. So you really had a cross-section of people on that committee, number one. Secondly, the conference retained one of the more prominent search firms in America, Korn Ferry, to lead that search and to vet candidates, to identify and recruit candidates for the position, to get the best pool possible. You know, and then I think that group went through a process and over the period of the last 30 days really considered people from throughout the country and landed on Judy. And you know, what I can tell you about Judy McLeod that excites me, and first of all, there are no perfect candidates. There's no perfect athletic directors, no perfect head coaches when you go through these things. You know, you may be the only perfect broadcaster, you know, that I've encountered. You're really darn good, that's for sure, if not perfect. But, you know, but Judy brings some excellent qualities to this role. And Judy McLeod's not Britton Banowski. And, you know, and she's not Mike Slive, and she's going to be her own person, her own commissioner, and do it her way. But I can tell our fans she is very strong. She's very decisive. Okay? She has the respect of coaches in this conference. She has respect of commissioners in the largest conferences in the country. I spoke with Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. It was in his office 3 or 4 weeks ago, and asked him who should be the commissioner of Conference USA. And he said Judy McLeod, unprompted. You know, Judy served on the Division I men's basketball committee, which is one of the 2 or 3 most prominent, most selective committees in college athletics. She was chosen for a reason by her peers because they have confidence in her as a leader, as an administrator, and in her judgment. And she served on that for 3 or 4 years. I think some of our fans were a little disappointed when our men's basketball team did not get selected for the NCAA tournament when Judy was on the committee in 2013, I guess it would be, but 13 or 14, whatever that was. But what they have to recognize is that Judy was just 1 vote, number one. But secondly, when Southern Miss or any other conference school, La Tech or anybody else was being considered, she had to actually step out of the room and could not cast a vote for a member school or make the case for a member school. That's just the way that body is structured. So I don't blame Judy McLeod or hold her responsible for us not being selected for the NCAA tournament. We should have been selected. The committee perhaps should have been accountable. But Judy's very strong, very confident. I really like the fact, John, that she was an athletic director for 10 years at the University of Tulsa. So she sat in this chair right here, in the same chair that the other ADs have been in. She's been a coach. She's bright. She's fair. She sees things from a lot of angles. I think she'll be well received by her peers in the industry, and I think that's important. And I've asked her personally, and I'll ask her again, to be a very strong advocate and cheerleader, if you will, for Conference USA. Because while the brand is still young and the brand is a little bit undefined, it's a very competitive conference with some outstanding schools that can have a very bright future. And I want to make sure that our commissioner and that office champion the cause every single day. And I think she will.
You talked about football a little while ago, and obviously Coach Monken and his team and his coach are doing a great job. But a lot of excitement was built up in the month of October, Rocktober, about Southern Miss football and just Southern Miss athletics in particular. So talk about that initiative, how you think it worked out, and where you think we can go from here with the momentum that was built up by the Rocktober campaign.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about the buzz that it created. You know, it created a lot of conversation created a lot of activity on Twitter and Facebook and the internet. And it was really an amazing endeavor. And Brent Jones and Kyle George and our marketing folks, ticketing folks, I thought did a super job of idea generation and then of execution. And I challenged them to have a deal, which turned out to be called the Daily Deal, every day for the month of October, every business day. Well, you got to put your thinking cap to pull that off, especially when you're 14, 16, 22, and 28 days into it. And I thought they did a really nice job. When you introduce things that no one else has ever done, ever in the country, like yard line pricing, where you decide what yard line you want to sit on and that's the price you pay, or name your price ticketing, which they launched one day, and you just had to call us, tell us what you wanted to pay, and we'd say yes, no, maybe. Or the golden ticket that you could buy, and as long as we kept winning, that ticket was good for all the subsequent games. So, so some really creative things that I think helped accelerate the interest, advance the interest. We filled some seats, we sold some tickets that way. But I think the goodwill that it brought was really important as well. I think our current season ticket holders appreciated the initiative because, and you always wonder, and you never want to compromise sort of the integrity or the value of the long-standing support of your season ticket holders and Eagle Club members, who paid full price for a ticket or made an Eagle Club contribution for a ticket. But the reality is, and I talked to a lot of those people, is that they'd like to see someone in the seat next to them. They want a full stadium. And they like the idea of us being creative and introducing new members of the community to the stadium in hopes that they'll come back on a permanent basis. So I thought that was great. And I had one fan last week say something to me about he was looking forward to the daily deals in November, and I said, "Whoa, wait a minute now! Now that was Rocktober. I didn't challenge them to come up with a daily deal every day in November." And the reality is that to make this thing work, to be financially solvent, to have a competitive, not just a championship level program, but a competitive level program. We're going to have people buy full price tickets going forward and buy season tickets and make Eagle Club contributions. We can't give the tickets away. They can't be half price every game. It can't be a 2-for-1. I'll throw in the popcorn now and then and some soft drinks now and then and a great tailgate spot, a suite on occasion, a sideline pass, a t-shirt, all those things. And I think we'll do it better than most people do and create a really good fan experience. But at the same time, we're going to need people to really invest as well. So we're going to go from Rocktober to Sellout Saturday. We've got one game in November. And, we've got more than 2 weeks to promote this thing and ask our fans to embrace it. But they'll see a lot of advertising and a lot of social media, a deal or two. But really, we need to just get hashtag Sellout Saturday going because it'll make a tremendous difference in winning that game against Old Dominion on November 21st, and we can make a statement to the bowl community on November 21st. Which is a good segue to the bowl conversation, and I know that's something you want to visit about.
I was going to say, you got a team that's battling for a conference championship. I think people forget about that sometimes, and every one of these games down the stretch, including that Old Dominion game, are going to have a lot to do with who wins the Western Division and goes on to win the championship. Talk about our football team and how you've seen them grow and the excitement that you've seen not only in the team, in that locker room, in that sidelines, but in the stands as this thing really gets going pretty good this year.
Well, and I'll go back to July, August of 2013. I met Todd Monken the night I was hired. It was the first time I met him, and we went up to Jackson for the All-Star party. That was our first introduction. We spent a lot of time together during the month of August in 2013, and I felt from day one this guy was going to provide tremendous leadership. And I just sensed it right away. And as we've worked together now for 2 years and a couple of months, both of us in our third year here, you know, in our offices right across the hall from each other, there's never been a day, not a single day, where I've doubted his leadership or where this was headed. And I felt when we were 1-11 in 2013 that it was happening. I felt last year when we were 3-9 and lost our last 6 or 7 games due to injuries primarily, that it was happening. And then you really felt in the off season it was building into the summer, added some talent, continued to develop the talent, and we've created an environment, and Todd and his staff have created an environment of inspiration. Inspiration for these players. And that's resulted in confidence, and their on-the-field play has led to more confidence. And, you know, I watched the game the other day and against UTEP, and I felt like that was the most complete performance we've had. And yet we haven't played our best football. Todd has talked about that, and I believe that to be true. But as I watched the UTEP game, I was really struck by a shift in, probably believing we were going to win every time out, certainly hoping, preparing to win, somewhat confident, to now we're flat out going into these games, you know, hands down, no doubt about it, we're winning this game, is the mentality of the team. And I look at the defense and the strides they've made, and it's pretty remarkable. And you look at the improvement from last year statistically to this year, it's the 3rd most improved offense in the country and the 5th most improved scoring defense in the country. There's 128 Division I schools this year. The 3rd most improved offense in America and the 5th most improved defense. There is no other school in the country in the top 5 or 10 in both. It's an amazing achievement and a testament to leadership of the coaching staff, a very good coaching staff, and a talented team. We have good players. We're not even close to the ceiling here, not even close. And while bowl eligibility is something to be celebrated, especially after not having gone for 3 years, it's just the first goal. And I mean, our players are past that one. They're not going to take it for granted, but they're past it. And on to the next one. And you can only win your next game. And so we know we need to go to Rice and win that game, get to 7-3. But it's fairly obvious that we can be positioned to play for a conference championship if we take care of business. So, and our fans realize that, and that's, again, momentum. We've got Mo on our side, and we just got to keep plowing ahead and you know, get this place back to that championship level on a consistent basis, and I believe we will.
Bowl eligible for the first time since 2011. I don't know how much you can share with us, but what can you tell the fans about being bowl eligible, what that means for Southern Miss, and what's on the horizon? Not to look too far ahead, but what's around the corner being bowl eligible?
Yeah. Now let's give a little primer to our fans and remind them of some things, and some things also that probably aren't publicized a lot. And you know, we're not talking about the football team, about the scenarios, and you know, they just want to play, love football, win games, and it'll shake out. One thing's for sure, we're going to be in a bowl game, and thank goodness, wherever it is, any bowl game that we go to, you know, we need to be elated about it, and I think our fans will, even though there will be preferences. So Conference USA has 8 bowl agreements, 7 locked in where we're a primary partner, we're in the game, and then an 8th, which is the Independence Bowl, the Camping World Independence Bowl in Shreveport, which is a secondary bowl agreement. The primary partners are the ACC and the SEC, but if one of those 2 leagues cannot fill their slot, which is probable, then that bowl is then on the table and becomes a Conference USA game. I think we're going to be looking at 8 games. So you start on December 19th with the game in Albuquerque and the game in New Orleans. And good games, good places. I think that the next one is December 21st in Miami. You know, I was thinking today, John, about how many places I've lived where we have bowl games, and it's quite a few, including Miami. But you've got that game, and that game's kind of interesting because that's in the Marlins ballpark that they convert into a football configuration. That game's against the American Athletic Conference. And then you've got the St. Pete Bowl, which is that's on the 26th. So before that one, you've got the game in the Bahamas, which is on Christmas Eve. That's against the MAC. Was a great game last year. Let me just say we don't have passports. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. I can't give any more insider information, but you need a passport to go to the Bahamas, and we don't have those at the moment. And then you've got that game in St. Pete that we went there in what?
09, I believe.
09?
It was, yeah.
And I've been to that game before at a prior stop, and great community. Now the game against the American, so another good matchup. You've got the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, and you've got the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl in Dallas. So those games are all the day after Christmas, which is interesting. And the game in Dallas is against the Big 12, if they fill that slot. And again, the game in Shreveport is against a high resource 5 opponent, ACC or SEC. And then you've got the 8th game is the game in Arizona, in Tucson. That's a new game against the Mountain West. So there's some appeal to that game. A chance to play Boise, Colorado State, one of those solid football programs that we don't get to see often, but the way the decisions are made is important for our fans to know on how this, because it's not that the champion automatically goes to a certain game. It does not work that way. The way that the matchups are made today, and this wasn't the case 10 years ago, but today throughout the country, outside of the college football playoff bowls and the New Year's Day bowls, is you really have the bowl itself and its executive director, and they frequently have a local organizing committee. So that entity, together with the commissioner, and the TV folks weighing in on matchups they'd like to see, makes the decision. And the institutions express what bowls they have a preference for, but we don't necessarily have a vote. Okay, it's really handled at the conference level with the bowl itself. And the higher we finish in the standings, though, the greater weight that our perspective and opinion will be. And but I'm excited about all the games, and every one of them's in a pretty good destination, and a lot of them over the holidays, so a chance for people to get to them. The game in Dallas and Shreveport and New Orleans are obviously very close, and so I think we can get a great turnout at any of those. I'm just looking forward to it. We're doing our bowl planning right now. We had a bowl conference call at the conference level this morning. In the last 2 years I had to suffer through those calls. I didn't even pay attention, didn't take any notes. But I will tell you 2 things, and before we wrap this up, John, that I did last year. Because, again, I felt this coming. One thing that comes immediately to mind is first week in December last year, being in New York City at the National Football Foundation celebration, in which they induct players in the College Football Hall of Fame. And you have kind of the who's who of college football comes in to New York City that week. And I remember being in the lobby of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. Okay, I didn't stay there, John, all right? I was at the, Motel 6, Hampton Inn, something, and down the street in Times Square. Everybody else was at the Waldorf Astoria. But I was in the lobby prior to their gala, and I was with 3 of the most prominent writers in college football. Andy Staples from Sports Illustrated, Brett McMurphy from ESPN.com, George Schroeder from USA Today, and another gentleman. And I remember standing in that lobby right now, as if it was yesterday, telling those guys about the fact that it was happening at Southern Miss. And I wanted them to know it was happening. And I wanted to know what Coach Munkin was all about, how special he was. And I just wanted to plant that seed for future coverage this season, which we've really benefited from, by the way. And then the other thing was, I called some of the bowl officials last year when we were 3-9 at this time of year, or maybe even 3 or 4 weeks later, actually, when there was no chance we were going. I called some of these bowl officials and I said, you know what? We're not coming to your game this year, but I want to reach out to you because we are coming to your game soon. And it's feeling good right now to go back and they know the story now. And you might remember my first day on the job, the USA Today was in this room. And how about that? You know, I pull in first day on campus. Jack Duggan, our outstanding sports information director, says, hey, by the way, the USA Today is in the neighborhood, and they want to talk to you about the fall of Southern Miss football. And I'm like, holy mackerel, Jack, you can't defer that meeting a little bit? And but I sat down with them, and I said, you know, I know the history of this place. I can't speak to the hiccups of the last couple of years, but I can tell you one thing: we're not going to stay there. Too much tradition, too much infrastructure, too many people care, and so it feels good for the story to be rewritten right now by a lot of those folks who recognize the great work that Todd and our team is doing. And the month of November, the month of December, John, we're going to have fun.
We are,
All right?
no question.
And so are our fans, I guarantee you.
Hey, and you've been bragging on everybody else, but I want to brag on you. I mean, this is kind of your motto now, winning in the classroom, winning on the playing field, winning in the community, and you've done an amazing job as a leader leading us in that direction. So hats off to you for the great job you're doing.
Thank you. And again, I feel blessed to be here. It's a privilege to be the AD at Southern Miss. The to the top mantra that we've tweaked a bit and added the term together to is the truth. It's the way forward. Is for all of us to stay on board together, stay on board through November, December, January, and beyond. And great things can happen in our future. But now's the time. Now's the time. And Sellout Saturday is important, John. I mean, it's important. We can't keep talking about it. We need to make it happen. And so let's all just get together and do it.
All right, great visit, great information. Thanks for letting us go behind the scenes a little bit and find out what's going on. And again, keep up the great work, and let's keep Southern Miss going to the top.
Together,
that's right. Our athletic director, Bill McGillis, always nice enough to sit down and let us go behind the scenes and find out what's going on here at athletics at the University of Southern Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you for that Old Dominion game, all the basketball games, all the exciting things that are coming up in the next few weeks here at Southern Miss. So thanks for visiting with us today. We'll see you next time here with another visit with our Director of Athletics, Bill McGillis.